countries may have values that they've inculcated into their people. Their people have absorbed.
Mm.
And then they immigrate to the US, and those values come in conflict with our values. Well, as a sovereign nation, we have a vested interest in either rejecting those people from coming in, so to help preserve our values, or helping to assimilate them,
Mm.
right? So, look, if you have a Mexican immigrant who's a Catholic, right? Those are their religious views. There's probably going to be a lot of similarity with the views of the U.S.
Mm.
Whereas a immigrant from maybe a Muslim nation where there's hostility to the gospel message, that would be an issue, or that might be a concern to say, okay, maybe we don't necessarily say no to that individual, but we help them to assimilate and adopt our values. That as a Christian, I have an interest in preserving our country's values that allow for greater freedom. I mean, this is, again, it's clear that in the U.S., there is much greater freedom than in a Muslim country for the promotion of the gospel. It doesn't mean God can't sovereignly work through, a Muslim country. We certainly see that. But as far as we can help foster a place that is open to the preaching of the gospel, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that on Sunday when our church every month or 6 weeks or so, we spend time learning about the persecuted church around the world. And the lady who led our time talked about how in India, Christians can't just meet freely. And there we were, our little church meeting openly and without fear. And I was just reflecting on how good that is, that we do have this freedom here, that we can meet. You and I don't have to worry about our children losing their mom and dad because we go to church with our kids.
Yeah. So a nation that's shaped by a false religion like Hinduism or Islam or Buddhism, you are going to find different values. And oftentimes those values are going to come in conflict with a nation that's founded on Judeo-Christian values. And so this is, so our national identity is important to preserve those values that underlie the freedoms that we have. So for the promotion of the gospel, it's important to maintain our national identity, because we'd say our national identity, given our roots, given our values, helps for the promotion of the gospel. And then secondly, it helps us to maintain our national identity, helps us to maintain our distinctive values as a nation. And this is where you can look at the American project, you can look at it historically, look at our unique context. And what we would argue, of course, we don't have time to do it on this podcast, but we would say our distinctive values as a country has led to the freest nation the world has ever known. And therefore, it's allowed for the unfettered promotion of the gospel. Okay? So, therefore, we've got a vested interest in securing our borders in order that we control the flow of immigration so that we can properly assimilate immigrants to preserve those distinctive values that have made us a place where immigrants want to come, where they can come and escape, the oppression of a nation, and they can build a better life for themselves and their families. But that, again, it's not just. I guess it's kind of putting the puzzle pieces together here. Why do we have a country that people want to come to? Because there's been certain values that are propagated, that are passed on from generation to generation. And that's what gives us this context.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would want to preserve that.
Yeah, I think this is where, I mean, we talked about this with in a couple podcasts ago when we talked with Don Duran about a reasoned patriotism, but the importance of teaching our kids the civics education so they understand. And I think uniquely the American story of these values, because that's what makes America unique and is the values. America wasn't started on one bloodline, or we don't have this like a lot of countries do, where there's this biological heritage too. America doesn't have that. What we have is a heritage of ideas, and so teaching our kids that is so valuable, because it, first of all, and we talked about with Don how Charlotte Mason talked about, you teach kids the good of their country before you show them the bad parts. And every country has that, because it's all humans in there that's making up culture and civilization. And so you're going to have sin and evil that happens. But the good thing of doing that and teaching our kids to have a national identity, and that's rooted in, for America, values, Judeo-Christian values, is that as you teach them the story of America, you help them to love it for the right reasons, but then it helps too for them to see where we've gone off course from those values. And of course, American history is littered with examples of where those values have been violated, and where different Americans, brave Americans, have called our country back to the values, that are really our foundation. So it's so important. And this is why, yes, new people who come, it's important that we teach them the values of, if you want to come here and be an American, you can. But part of doing that is that you adopt an acceptance that these are the ideas and values of our country. And if you want to live here and be a part of our country, this is what you have to assimilate to.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to call this your country as well,
yeah,
this is what you have to adopt.
Yeah.
I mean, I just go back to the analogy of the home. If we were to adopt a child and bring them into our home, we would teach them our values. And what if they adopt our values? Then there's going to be greater peace and harmony in the home. There's going to be less conflict, and that is, of course, in our best interest as a family. In the same way, it's in our best interest as a nation for people who come in to adopt American values that make us unique. Now, and so these then I think tie into the last thing that we want to say, and that is, therefore, there really isn't a dilemma for Christians here. There's no dilemma. Christians can uphold their biblical obligations to support government, to support the laws of our government, the laws of the land, and then at the same time fulfill the biblical exhortations to care for those who are in need, to care for immigrants. There's no conflict there. In fact, I think what we've laid out is that is the best for us as citizens of a particular country, and it's best for the immigrants who come in. We don't want a divided nation, people coming in with their own values, maintaining all of their own values and not adopting the values of our country. Coming in at the very start, breaking the law by coming in illegally, if they come in illegally, right? That undermines the law and order of a nation. And so we want to say, look, we have a biblical obligation as believers to respect the authority of government and the laws of the land. And at the same time, we can support legal immigration. And for those legal immigrants, we can also show them hospitality. And so, primarily in our homes, in our neighborhoods, in our churches, through charities, we can provide for the needs of immigrants, help them with food, help them with shelter, help them with clothing, help teach them, the skills that they need to flourish in our country. And of course, there are scriptures that back this up. I think it's Psalm 146:9. Psalm 146:9 says, "The Lord watches over the sojourners. He upholds the widow and the fatherless, but the way of the wicked he brings to ruin." I mean, that just gives you a window into God's heart for the sojourner, the foreigner, the alien.
Yeah.
We think of other biblical passages. Matthew chapter 25 would be one that we would look at. Starting in verse 35, "For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." Right? And this obligation to help people who are in need. Often the stranger. And that's what verse 38 says. And when did we? This is the question that they're asking the Lord. Right? Actually, back to 37. "Then the righteous will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? And when did we see you a stranger and welcome you, or naked and clothe you? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king will answer them. This is verse 40. "And the king will answer them, Truly I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers, you did it to me." Right. So we would affirm that as well, affirm the laws of the land, and affirm the love and charity and the generosity, meeting the needs of those who are needy, and many are immigrants who have left everything behind. Okay, so those things are not at odds, but it seems to me that you start with the laws. You start with the nation's sovereignty. You start with their laws. You start with kind of the national identity, and that gives then a framework.
Yeah.
And within that framework, there's plenty of room for legal immigration, and we'd want that process for the good of American citizens and for the good of the immigrants that come in. Okay, so pray for the authorities, right? The kings, the people in high position, so that we can lead a peaceful and quiet life.